Welcome back everyone, and it's time to go balls deep. Today we are talking about chapter 312 as well as our analysis with evidence and clues on where we think the direction of My Hero Academia's final chapter is going. As we all know, Deku becomes the next symbol of peace and the greatest hero, as this entire show is a big flashback and he's narrating the story. You must join our community and hit the notification bell because we have been covering My Hero weekly. We discussed many theories within our community which have now been completely confirmed. For example, remember our series from a year ago on All For One wanting to take over Shigaraki's body, destroy Hero Society, and become the Demon Lord? Well, that was 100% implemented into the story with excellent accuracy. Remember, balls deep prediction quirk is way too powerful. And of course that's because of your help in the comment sections too, so yeah, remember to let me know your opinion in the comments and hit the notification bell. So by the end of this video, if you watch it in full, please let me know what you think of our analysis regarding how we think Deku will become the next symbol of peace and what his message will be. Chapter 312 starts with a flashback of Hawks informing Deku of his situation. Hawks warns Deku that All For One and Shigaraki are still recovering from the damage they suffered during the war, especially with the doctor not being there to help them. They can't preserve a dead body. In chapter 311, we know the heroes understand that All For One needs to take over Shigaraki and are waiting for Shigaraki's body to complete, since, you know, the doctor leaked it by mistake that his body is incomplete at 70%. They have intel that All For One wants to combine his will with Shigaraki's hatred to overpower One For All's resistance at being stolen. The heroes have already located all the hospitals and buildings the doctor had, so the Paranormal Liberation Front can't use the tech inside to preserve a body. Due to this, the villains need to capture Deku alive for All For One to steal One For All from him. Hawks elaborates saying how it's not possible for the Tartarus escapees and villains to grab Deku alive, cause Deku, we all know, he is too OP now. He got them 6 quirks, he's got his things, and most importantly, the drip.
You must introduce yourself to the world and proudly say I am here.
However, Hawks warns Deku there is one woman that could take him on. Hawks Senpai is the only escapee who can capture Deku alive. Former public safety hero Lady Nagant.
Extra.
Hawks advises Deku to run away if he encounters Lady Nagant. However, just as the flashback is over, Deku gets hit with a bullet made of blue and pink hair. He instantly recognizes it's her with his analytical skills. Deku tries to dodge the bullet, but it still hits him and destroys the communication device he was using. But let's be honest, I'm sure if any of you saw a pretty woman like Lady Nagant, you would cut off the phone willingly within an instant, because I'm sorry to say, y'all simps.
Gee, baby, ain't I good to you?
Deku is running away, jumping from buildings using Black Whip, full cowling and float to boost himself whilst dodging her shots with danger sense. Deku thinks about how his transmission device was broken, so All Might and Hawks will know that something went wrong, but reinforcements will be a little late. He keeps running, but Lady Nagant says that he is out of options as a bullet hits him from the front, sending him flying. Deku realizes that there is no way he wins in a long-range battle. She is just built different. Now remember, even Hawks, the number 2 hero, currently called her Senpai, and since she used to be a public safety hero, this suggests that she worked closely with the heads of the Hero Commission. When Hawks was a kid, he was scouted and groomed by the Hero Commission to become a spy. It is possible that she is the one that trained him, or at least mentored him in his early days. Where Lady Nagant is a sniper who excelled at assassination, and a sniper will need to be excellent at espionage, right? Which goes to explain why the commission believed Hawks was right for the mission to be a spy in the League of Villains. The Hero Society itself is what made and put Hawks in his circumstances, yet he is being trashed in the media and being taken for granted, as we saw in chapter 310. This gives us a hint on what Lady Nagant must feel towards the world, as Hawks is basically suffering for doing their morally ambiguous and questionable decisions. Hawks is taking on the blame that Hero Society made themselves, which goes to show how one's name gets tarnished. You must consider that the spy sector of the Hero Commission parallels the CIA, as intel is very important to completing missions. Knowledge is power, and what one does with that power must be in the right place rather than what it is today. Hero Society at the moment is trying to sustain its image and norm that only benefits the people who are already in the system rather than those that are victims of it. For example, Shigaraki, Hawks and Overhaul. We see a flashback with the pro-hero Snipe. Deku is thinking back to an interview we saw of him, once again highlighting how Deku's expansive knowledge bred from childhood is benefiting him as a hero. In this interview, Snipe talks about how if Nagant wasn't in the picture, he would be the best long-distance sniper in Japan. Snipe can only use his quirk at a 600-meter range, and he isn't that precise, or he doesn't have really that impressive power. His attacks are homing bullets that are under his control. However, Nagant has a 3-kilometer range with just pure skill. Like, this dude Snipe has aimbot hacks on and shit, and Lady Nagant is a pro with no scoping abilities, with her quirk bullets having immense power that can hurt Deku whilst he is using 50% of One for All. Imagine if she shot a normal person, their head would fly off instantly without them knowing what even happened. Lady Nagant explains that the secret to her skill and power lies in her bullets. She forms them into any shape she wants and molds it like an epoxy putty and hardens it into ammunition. She can make anything from hollow bullets to bullets that curve around. Imagine something like this. Now, one thing I don't understand is why Deku hasn't used his smoke quirk. We saw him use it against Muscular last chapter, and he used Danger Sense to feel his way around the smoke. He is using his other quirks in this chapter but neglecting to use smoke? That makes no sense! Deku with his analytical brain should have already figured this out, even before the battle and Hawks warned him. So why is he opting to get hit by the bullets and saying she's on another level when we know he can smoke B-point and disable the AWP? If those that play FPS get what I mean. I play Valorant and CSGO. Even a Gold Eagle player like me can tell, like, bruh, the best way to stop a sniper is to smoke sight.
That don't make no sense.
So I think Deku's probably going to use his smoke quirk next chapter. I'm just saying. Now, in this part of the video, I am going to explain the deeper message and connect everything for you. You need to make sure that you watch all of it till the end to understand what the final chapter of My Hero Academia is shaping to be. Lady Nagant is definitely connected to the story and the message Horikoshi is trying to portray. Now, as we see in the chapter, Deku deflects another bullet from Lady Nagant. I would like to mention that Lady Nagant's name definitely seems to be a reference to Lady Death from real life. The nickname Lady Death was given to a Soviet sniper from Ukraine who famously had 300 confirmed kills and is renowned as the best female sniper the world has ever seen. Similar to how My Hero Academia depicts Lady Nagant as the overall best sniper, literally and figuratively miles ahead of the 25th ranked hero that glorifies her name on TV as someone that possesses immense power and skill. Lyudmila Pavlichenko was involved in some of the worst battles of the Eastern Front in World War II. She and the other members of the Soviet Union were known for using the Moiseian Nagant rifle, which explicitly lets us know where Nagant's name comes from and where her quirk named rifle is inspired from. She is an essential character to Horikoshi's message at the moment, as the current message of the show is trying to make readers question the dichotomy of the structure society presents to what is morally right or wrong, a parallel to the real world. Lady Nagant is inspired from the concept of a real-life hero that is renowned for something she achieved, but is doing morally questionable acts based upon your perception of the world, right? Therefore, it wouldn't surprise me that Deku will question Lady Nagant on her beliefs and downfall from being a hero. As I mentioned last week, Deku is constantly thinking about what he can do to attempt to save Shigaraki from his suffering, as he felt in their first fight in the Vestige world that Shigaraki Shigaraki is actually crying for help and is a victim of his own circumstance where society failed him and made him become who he is. Deku attempts this new standing, an obligation he sees that Hero must do with Muscular, attempting to understand him by asking why he enjoys killing and causing violence, where he then realizes that Muscular is too far gone and there are some people out there that cannot be saved. The woman known as Lady Death in real life actually has a tragic story where it involves a friend of hers dying and giving her his rifle, which she made her first kill. After she was wounded in the war, she was taken off the field to both train other snipers and become a propagandist for the army. She then struggled constantly with depression because of the loss of her husband in the war, and she also suffered from PTSD and alcoholism. As I mentioned earlier, we see in chapter 312, Hawks calls Lady Nagant his senpai, so that would explain why Hawks is heavily trained, a similar concept to Lady Death's teaching her subordinates in real life. Horikoshi will make Lady Nagant a character who will suffer similar grief to Lady Death, and this will call for her betrayal to Hero Society, since it caused her suffering in the first place, similar to other individuals she has witnessed throughout her hero career. In chapter 312, she states to All for One that she herself is a victim of the Hero Society she helped build. Lady Death in real life went through a similar issue where she was regarded as a hero on TV and in society, but in reality she was suffering due to her actions and the path she helped build. Lady Nagant can expose the propaganda she went through and the traumatic experience which caused her to leave the heroes, thus allowing her character to be a stepping stone for Deku's character development. By intertwining Deku's character with someone else that has similar beliefs to Shigaraki, Deku needs to realize what shapes his moral compass and give him grounding in what he can state to Shigaraki in their final battle at the end of the manga. If Deku can try to understand Lady Nagant's betrayal to Hero Society, he can eventually learn Shigaraki's circumstance for becoming a villain, as Deku learned that Shigaraki actually wanted to be a hero and he is waiting for someone to save him from the grasp of All for One. As we all know, Shigaraki's shadow of hatred grew too large in his childhood, which is blinding him from the hypocrisy he is causing. Shigaraki is causing the same fate he had to others by creating destruction to the world and letting children lose their parents and living in fear with Hero Society being no longer. This is what made Shigaraki who he is through All for One's manipulation, which will only make the cycle of hatred continue rather than change for the better. Remember, Shigaraki always complained that no hero actually came and saved him when he was looking for anyone and anything to hold on to his humanity. He blamed All Might for not being the true symbol of peace he hoped for and claimed to be. Shigaraki is destroying hope in the world, whilst Deku is trying to uphold it. We saw this perpetuated recently when Deku saved the woman in chapter 310 and told her he will make sure to bring things back to normal after saving her life. In chapter 312, Lady Nagant calls Overhaul another victim of evil pro-hero society. This is because the Hero Public Safety Commission was a law enforcement agency responsible for managing the interactions between heroes and society as a whole and for investigating the most dangerous cases of criminality. This is where her knowledge must have come from, as she was part of the commission and would have investigated Overhaul in his childhood and know what he was doing as a mob boss. The commission was known for handling heroes individually to investigate and solve dangerous cases, as they did with Hawks, remember? Commanding Hawks to become a double agent and infiltrate the League of Villains, which only goes to explain why Lady Nagant went against Hero Society, since she would have witnessed similar questionable acts herself. For example, in chapter 312, Lady Nagant states that Overhaul will be useful to her later, and when we look into his past, it's very similar to Hawks, but the parallels of the two paths is shown once again. Instead of the heroes grooming Overhaul, it was the Mafia and the underground villain society that took him in. Overhaul was found and raised by the Mafia, and the boss of it, Hasakai. He views him as a father figure and believes he owes the old man a great debt for taking him in. Throughout his life, the boss recognized that Overhaul, Kai, he was troubled and he would try to hone him into an honorable Yakuza. Kai would often lash out at anyone who badmouthed the Yakuza as a child. The boss told a young Kai that Yakuza can't hurt innocent people, but still thanked Kai for trying to protect their honor. However, as Overhaul grew older, he started a venture dealing with quirk-related drugs. The boss told him to stay away from villainy and drugs. He understood that Overhaul, Kai the child, was simply repaying the kindness after the boss saved him, but he must not go overboard, nor must he stray from his path. But it was too late, much like Shigaraki's story. This is why we see in chapter 312, Overhaul is now a broken man and keeps calling out for his boss, the foster father that saved him that day. Now, as I mentioned earlier, in chapter 309, Deku faced Muscular and tried to understand him, but realized it was too late. But this might not be the case for Overhaul, Shigaraki or Lady Nagant, as they have potential to be reformed since Deku admitted he has felt their feelings to understand them. My Hero Academia constantly highlights one of its messages of generations being important, stating that children are the most important aspect of the world to save, as disregarding them and causing childhood trauma is what causes it to ripple into wider society for someone like All For One to exploit or become themselves. For example, when we look back, Overhaul met Deku in chapter 129. It was foreshadowed from the very beginning when they discussed the abuse of Eri and what would a child become if they are misunderstood and treated badly. Every villain of My Hero Academia kinda parallels Deku, as Deku represents what good came out of pro-hero society, as he was saved by All Might and was given love by his parents. Deku was bullied for being who he is, but he still idolized a true hero, which gave him a sense of purpose and positive perception of the world rather than something misfortunate. Overhaul parallels Shigaraki and could be proof to Deku's resolve and ideology that change is required in society where people like them are not born from their misfortunate and circumstance, since the decisions of pro-hero society world making these deliberate mistakes or decisions garner a negative recoil to these children. Children are the key to the future being prosperous if the next generation of quirk users have a mental well-being and happiness rather than abuse. When we look at Dabi, Shigaraki, Hawks, Eri, Overhaul, we see three different lanes. Shigaraki, Dabi and Overhaul became villains from their circumstances and abuse, making the cycle of hatred continue. Hawks became morally grey, where he stands in the middle and is burdened by his gifts. Eri and Shoto Todoroki became heroes with the help of hero society, and it was people like Deku that saved their mentality to embrace the good sides of it. Eri and Shigaraki had similar childhoods with similar circumstances with their abuse, but they are divided by their paths society gave them. Deku possibly being the final One For All user confirmed in chapter 304, according to the holders themselves. One For All cannot be passed on, as there will be no future child that will be able to handle such a quirk, as quirkless humans are near extinct. This makes it even more imperative for Deku to make a difference to the future generations, since he holds the power to do so. Deku by the end of the manga has to become the next symbol of peace that All Might was, by embodying a message with the smile they proclaim, rather than just being propaganda and a poster boy of moral ideals that are never truly matched, thus giving birth to villains such as Twice, Dabi and Shigaraki in the first place. Stain exposed this and made the cycle continue, as All Might was the only true hero. Therefore, Deku has to break the wheel by representing an idea that will ripple throughout the various agencies to change the hero culture for the better. If Deku isn't able to pass on One For All to the next generation, there won't be another superhero that can match his presence, which goes back to the point of making the next generation the ones that could uphold the gap that will be created. Deku will be regarded as the greatest hero in the world after saving Japan from a century-long war and sending a message that resonates with everyone to make sure the same mistakes don't happen again. This will be a profound message to the characters in the manga as well as the readers of the manga, as Deku was just like the characters that suffered from childhood trauma and was bullied, but he had the heart and will to become a hero. And Horikoshi made this will and heart part of the One For All power, mind you, negating the rebuttals that Mirio was the better choice. The will of the user is what makes One For All not be stolen. Horikoshi even states that Deku was was the perfect choice by being quirkless, as it stops the overflow of power, making one for all his own just like All Might did. The most important aspect is that Deku has the heart. There's a hero in all of us. Deku has already affected the generation he is within. Bakugo was part of the problem and even told him to commit suicide, even telling him he would never become a hero, and they all doubted that he could be a helping hand for those in need. But slowly Deku proved this mentality wrong and rubbed off on Bakugo, where Bakugo has acknowledged Deku in chapter 291 and sees him as his rival. If Deku is able to change the likes of Bakugo through actions backing his words, he would be able to become the symbol that All Might once was, therefore inspiring children just like he was inspired by Sensei as a kid. To back this up with evidence, Deku even helped change Kota, who is of the next generation. During the forest training arc, we saw Kota as a kid who doesn't like heroes because he thought being a hero was pointless. Kota didn't understand why his parents would choose to be a hero when it was a burden and only caused them suffering and neglect of their own child. This is similar to how Nana Shimura's son and Shigaraki's father saw heroes, as Nana died being a hero and wasn't there for him as his mother, and this rippled on and the cycle of hatred continued. This ultimately led to Shigaraki becoming the worst villain, right? However, during the training camp arc, Kota met Deku, who saved him from harm's way against Muscular. Deku, in his selfless act, destroyed his arms just so Kota could flee and be saved. When Kota witnessed Deku's triumph over Muscular, he understood what it meant to be a hero. Kota sees Deku as the new symbol of peace. We saw this influence Deku had on Kota in chapter 184, where he gave Deku a letter thanking him, and he was also seen wearing red shoes similar to what Deku wears in his pro hero costume. Therefore, at the end of My Hero Academia, Deku will embody a message greater than the smile itself that will allow for circumstances where the same cycle will not continue. Anyway guys, let me know what you think about this analysis and theory. Let me know you got towards the end by saying Deku got the drip. Anyway guys, and I'll see you guys next time.